Welcome to In Between Podcast with your hosts, Celeste and Sarah. We have new episodes every Monday at 4 p.m., so be sure to check them out. Join us as we discuss everything from motherhood, being a wife, to living with faith and navigating the chaos of everyday life. Grow with us in life's in between with this new episode beginning now.
So today we're talking about media and what kind of effects it might have on us, on our kids, and what boundaries we want to put in place for ourselves or for our kids when it comes to media. And when we say media, we mean TV shows, movies, social media, songs.
Yeah, that's the right one.
Is that it? Is that all of media? TV,
So much. YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. I guess that would go into like the social media part of it. But like it is so like big now in our lives because like when we were children it wasn't that big, but like now it is so huge. It's everywhere. Like, what do we need to limit? Why do we need to limit? Like, what is our cause for limiting it, and like how it does affect us?
Yeah.
Because even like for me being a 28-year-old, I've grown up in it some, like half my life, I guess, and so it just wasn't as big back in the day, but now it's like huge. Like I'm scrolling all the time.
Yeah.
And like, what is the limit to, right? And so do I want to be like, how often do I want to be like present? And that is horrible, I think, to say, because like, I want to be present in it all.
Yeah.
But like,
How much is it stealing away from you? But
yeah,
I'm present.
right.
Yeah.
And it's just so huge, and I think it needs to be limited, like on a personal like
Level.
yeah.
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 And I think in order to have like healthy habits with it is very important.
Yes.
So, like for me in my job as a photographer, like I have to be on social media.
Yeah.
Like I have to be. I have to follow fellow photographers. I gotta keep up with what they're doing, what the trends are.
Yeah.
So when I say I gotta keep up with the trends, I literally have to sit down and watch reels on Instagram and save templates and music and the trending audio. So I literally have to sit there for like an hour or two and just scroll.
Yep. I feel that because like that's what I do. At least like social media and like scheduling my posts and like seeing what's trendy, seeing what people are doing. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole day. And like I'm constantly on my phone, constantly on my computer. And so
Yeah.
like limiting that for work time, and then like you wanna like get on your phone after work and like see what your friends are too. Exactly. And yeah, be like this is what I'm doing. Funny videos. Like they just keep you scrolling. And so I don't know. I think it's just something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Because like people talk about it, but as far as like, I don't think they really like think about it as affecting your life or your child's life.
Yes.
In a negative way.
Yeah, and I think not just in a negative way, but also like a spiritual way too.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to just sit on there and mindlessly scroll and to have something to do. But also like when I was growing up, we didn't really have a TV, but once we got older, we eventually had a form of like something to watch movies on and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I would just sit and watch that one show or like watch a show, maybe multiple, but I would just watch the show.
Yeah.
Now I watch the show and I scroll on my phone and I have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do it all. Like,
right.
And also the person that I'm having a conversation with, like, they're not feeling very important. Because I'm also like this, and I'm also like that, and then I'm also like this. And that's like,
there's a lot going on.
Well, my attention span is just used to being so short. And so like, I'm used to like seeing that, seeing this, talking to that. you know,
Yeah.
and how much it's messing with my brain of like needing that stimulus all the time.
Yeah, because now you can't go back to just the watching of the TV.
Absolutely.
Like, it's like, I've got to be, like, doing something else. And that's not great.
No, it's not. It's not. It is totally rewiring our brain to have a short attention span. And I think that's why ADHD has really gone to the roof in ADD, because like we're so used to having these reels and TikToks that are only 10 seconds.
Right.
And then we get a new video, you know? And it was funny the other night, Brantley was like, you know, watch a movie.
Nothing.
And I was like, yeah, movie sounds great. And then we were like, what movie? And then eventually we couldn't decide on the movie. And then also we didn't want the commitment of sitting down and watching an hour movie.
Yeah,
So we ended up just sitting on our phone together and watching reels for an hour.
Yeah, and then like,
But it was changing every 10, 15 seconds.
I was about to say, like, driving in the car, if I don't have my Spotify playlist or, you know, something I'm listening to, if I'm on the radio, if it's a commercial, change.
Yes.
Listen to, like, I'm not listening to that commercial. I'm changing it and finding it until I find a song. Like, that's crazy.
You'll think you went through a lot of radio stations trying to find a song.
Yes, it is just crazy how, like, it has changed. It has evolved in these past, like, 15 years, 10 years, however long. And, like, how much we, like, depend on these devices, how much we depend on our phones and on our, you know, computers and all that stuff. And, like, I just think it's important to recognize, like, what we're putting in our brains.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, we might do it as our job, but, like, what are we doing with it when we're off the phone? Like, I heard this one thing that's like, when you're eating dinner with your family, right, and your phone is right here on the table, like, our children see that that's like our number one priority with it sitting next to us. Because it's like right there, and like we're checking it, you know, we might be scrolling some, and like we're not giving our 100% to our family, to our children and husband. And so what they see is like, oh, like, I guess they're not like obviously verbalizing like, you're on your phone, like you're not paying attention to me, but like they see that. Yeah. They see you not paying attention to them. And it's like, it's our number one.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, Daniel's only almost 6, and so 6 months. And so it's like, I'm looking at my phone or whatever, and he'll come over and like try to see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Like he's like, what's so important?
Right.
And that is noticeable at such a young age. So even if your baby realizes, hey, actually something else is important that she's looking at.
Right.
Like our husbands noticed it. All the relationships in our life are noticing, hey, this device is what's important to me.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Yeah, I'll even like put it on the bed. It's like, I'm off the clock. I put it on the bed, right? And then my 2-year-old will like see my phone on the bed and bring it over to me. Be like, Mom, here's your phone. And I'm like, I put it away for like, I'm thinking to myself, I put it away for a reason. What is she doing bringing it to me? I'm like, I'm trying. But she knows that it is so like a part of my daily, I guess, that she just realizes like, Mom, phone, you know, and like that shouldn't be the case. So I've been putting like things into place where I am putting it away, like at dinner. Like I don't want her to even see it.
Yeah,
you know. And I think it can be so addicting. Like you want to just scroll.
Yeah,
constant.
And I think too nowadays we don't really just sit in boredom.
Yeah,
you know, or awkward. Like, if something's awkward, I just like, well, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this awkward, you know? Or I'm bored and I'm sitting somewhere and somebody's not talking to me at that moment. I'm like, oh, I'll just preoccupy myself with my phone, you know?
Yeah.
And so we don't just like sit and it's like, oh, I can actually have a conversation. And I can live through awkward. Nowadays, we don't live through awkward.
No.
We just look at our phone and scroll or find something else to keep our attention.
Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah.
Um, so other than like limiting it for ourselves, like what we're seeing, not even on social media, but like watching on TVs has an impact like on our minds and like even like clickbait.
Yeah.
Because like you might not be following something negative or like, something you shouldn't be looking at, but it will pop up on your screen. And it's like, if it can pop up on my screen, it can pop up on your screen, it can pop up on your child's screen.
Absolutely.
And so, like, and that's just clickbait, right? And so, I don't know. I just think the world thinks what the world says is okay may not be okay to me. And, like, that, some of the stuff is not okay to me.
Yeah.
And, like, I would get off of it if it's, like, just like crazy stuff, And it happens all the time, though, and it makes me so frustrated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this should be a fun app or a fun thing, and it's like wrecking my mind.
It has the potential to really wreck your life.
Yeah,
If you give it the power to.
right,
And also, when it comes to other media, other than just like your phone, when it comes to songs that you're listening to, when it comes to movies or shows that you're watching, how much spiritually it can be affecting your life.
yeah,
And I've been noticing like songs that I listen to, if like they have cuss words in them, they're more apt to be like floating in my head later on.
okay,
And if I'm like watching a show that has a lot of cussing or a lot of violence or a lot of sexual content, like that can really get in your mind and like start to mess with you and also pull you further away from God.
yeah,
And one thing since becoming a mom, God's been like showing me is how much the spiritual world is like so real
oh yeah,
and how much I need to be gatekeeping my household and not allowing certain things in.
yeah,
And the world is obviously going to keep doing the world, and it's going to be full of sex and violence and lying and stealing and all the worldly things, I mean, yes, there's some good things out there. But
right,
when you walk out the door, our kids are going to be bombarded. I'm bombarded with a lot of stuff. Like you go out to a restaurant and there's a TV going and it's a bad commercial or it's this or it's that. And so you are always having to like filter what the world says.
yeah,
And as a mom, I want our house to be a safe place. I don't want my son to be worried when he's looking over my shoulder and he's going to see something bad one day. Or we're listening to a song and it's complete filth, and he's having to filter that all the time. So you really got to pay attention to what you're bringing into your home that your kids are going to have to filter and learn how to say, that's not what God says.
right,
And there's a lot of filtering that we have to do outside of our house.
yes.
Our house needs to be a safe place.
Yeah, that is so real. Like, even just like watching TV and stuff, it's like the commercials, or not even just the commercials, just like you don't know what's gonna come in, like on your TV screen.
Yeah.
Because if it's like a new show or new movie, and it's like, oh, don't need to be watching that, it can get pretty intense.
Yeah.
And so I like that you said that. That's really like just limiting. Like if you can't limit outside your home, like limit inside your home.
Yeah.
Make that a safe place for your child.
And I think too, I've always like heard about it, and it's like the chew or spit method. It's crazy to talk about. But you chew or spit it. Basically, like as an adult, I'm able to take in information, hold it to God's truth, and if it's not anywhere close to God's truth, I can spit it out. It's it. Well, as kids, they can't do that. They're still learning what God says is true, their identity, like everything. And the world is constantly saying, no, hear this, hear that. What about this? This is what is true. This is what's right. Just like they can't filter out all the lies the world says.
Yeah.
And so we got to teach them the chew and spit method and what to hold it against, which is God's word.
Yeah.
And we also have to help protect them and be that line of defense for them.
Yeah.
And when I say protect, like there's a lot of people out there, it's like, oh, I don't want my kid to know anything about the world. And that's not helping your kid.
Right. Because when they get out there, they're going to be like, what? This is not what I thought it was supposed or going to be like. Yeah.
Like the world's a lot crueler, or like you're protecting me from nothing.
Right.
And so we got to teach our kids what the world says and what God says.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Like the protection thing, as far as like, you know, going out into the world, we can only protect like so much. And I think that's the thing, like that people say, like, you can't protect them 100%. And like, yeah, I get that. But like, there are some things that like we can prepare our children for, like, you are going to see this. This is going to happen. This is what's going on that we don't like, or that Christians don't agree with. Like, God does not agree with this. Yeah. And that is like, so it's happening so much. Like the opposite of Christianity is happening in our world today, that it's like mind blowing. And it's like, I don't want to raise my child in this atmosphere, but like I've got to teach them like that is not okay. That is not what God says. And like, we cannot become that. We cannot become the world. We are only to become like who God says that we are, and live a lifestyle like that, like light. And so, because we don't even like looking out into the world, I feel like you barely see light. Like it's so dark. And so like we need to be that light for the world, because other people may never see light. Yeah. Because they may not have grown up in the same like lifestyle house, that we are trying to bring to the table for our children. So I think it's just very important for us to read scripture and like know what to do, so we can teach and like we can learn ourselves, like what needs to be put in place. And that goes beyond media. Yeah. Like just like school and like everything.
Yeah. And I think it's very important for us to realize developmentally where our kids at and be able to talk to them about certain things. And like if there's like a show or music that they heard or something like that, like we need to be able to articulate, hey, that's not true. Like that's not true, because it doesn't go anything with what the Bible says.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be so tricky though. Yeah. Because we've been watching the shows for so long, or like listening to the songs for so long, that it's like, that's no big deal. Like we've been listening to that forever. But like some of the even like country music, like I was listening to something the other day and I was like, what is this teaching me? Like, this is saying something like that I would never do in my life. So it's like, why am I listening to this? Yeah. And it's just like the simplest things. And like, which I don't want to like hit on country music. Yeah. Maybe it's because like we think one way about country music, as far as like
it's all about God.
Yeah.
Country.
But it's about drinking, like getting wasted on a Friday night in my truck with my boots on and it's raining. like that is funny, but it's so real. And it's like, that is not okay for even us to be listened to, because it sounds so fun, but it is not fun, or like, it is not real.
Well, and like I said, like we're able to filter it out. Right. I can see that that's actually not a fun time. But kids listen to it. I'm like, that's the way you're supposed to live life. You know? It's like, no. Like, whereas
you can have fun doing other things too. Yes. So I just think it's everywhere, and we hear it all the time, but it just gets instilled in our minds that like that's okay. But it's it shouldn't be okay depending on what standards you're living up to.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, if you're holding it to the Bible, I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that I do. If I hold it to the Bible, I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, I think I
Like,
can
what's
quit
the
doing
limit?
it,
Yeah.
you know, or I should quit listening to that music, or maybe I should quit watching that show.
Yeah.
And I think too, if you ever are like listening to a song or watching a show or whatever media, and you're like, oh, I just don't want my kid to hear that, see that, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
You don't want your kid seeing it.
Like,
Should you be doing it?
yeah. That's true.
And I mean, obviously, there's a line, you know, that we can obviously filter out more than our kids, but it's a good thing to like think about. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm worried that my kid's going to watch this show, maybe I shouldn't watch it in our home, especially
Yeah.
if you want your home to be a safe
Same
place.
place. Yeah.
And also, I'm just thinking about like spiritually, like what are we inviting into our homes,
Mhm.
and what spirits in the spiritual realm are we inviting that can cause disorder, disruption, things in our marriages, things in other relationships, and maybe even like anxiety and confusion in our kids, you know?
Mhm.
And we were looking at like how much screen time is too much screen time for kids and all that. And what did it say? It said 2 hours or an hour of screen time total per
Yeah.
day.
Per day, and then 3 hours on the weekend or something like that.
Is okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And if you have more than that, then your ADHD goes up, ODD goes up,
Yeah.
and what was the other one?
It had a lot of
A
statistics
lot of
on
things
there.
went wrong.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff that you wouldn't even really like think about, I guess. But and it's like how can that be? Like, you know, which it hasn't been studied for so long because media hasn't been out for that long. But like it has been out in the last major like 5 years, 10 years. So like the 10-year-olds right now or the 5-year-olds right now, like how are they acting? I've heard a lot of like just behavioral issues in classrooms, and whether that's screen time or home things or whatever that may be, I think it is a problem, especially for like just too much of the screen time. And like, what are we learning? Are we learning anything, or is it just
Yeah.
what is it? You know?
Well, and I think too, it's very easy to use as a pacifier, basically for
Yeah.
young kids. Like, oh, they're upset, and I don't have the time to deal with you right now. I'm going to turn on my show, you know. And it can be a very slippery slope to use it as a parent's cop out a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily always bad, but it's not necessarily always
Well, once you start using a cop out for every situation where they are whining or where they are like too much for you to handle, so you give them the screen time, it's like now you have to do it every time or they do pitch a fit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, where's the line, or like, are we making that like
The norm.
yeah, the norm? Because like we do not do as far as we watch TV. It's, I mean, pretty educational TV. I mean, she's learning things from that, and I have recognized that she has been. We watched the old Barney because she loves Barney, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's okay. But it's not so like in your face kind of. It's just like, and she's learning a lot from it. But we don't use it as a. I don't use screen time as a pacifier.
Yeah.
Which she did grow up listening to like Encanto and Moana and Frozen, and like those were her like she loved music, and that's kind of what like she was very colicky or just very gassy, so she was just crying all the time, and that was one of the things that just like calmed her more was like the music. And so that is what we use, which she doesn't even watch those shows as much. She watched Frozen, but not like Barney. But yeah, she does. But to say like all those things, we just need to limit our children's screen time, our screen time, and just put the like lens of God like on our eyes, so like we know like when to push stop, like or delete, remove, unfollow,
Quit listening to it.
all the things.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I mean, obviously we're saying like social media or media is bad. No, it's not all bad. And there are some good and there are some bad, obviously. But it's all lumped up together. But as Christians, we really need to be the light when it comes to social media, especially, and also supporting good movies, good worship, and good songwriters and stuff. Good podcasts. People on social media, like influencers that are outspoken about their relationship with God, I think those are all good things to support. And obviously, it can be bad because we can be like, oh, like, let's make sure we're following that person. And then we get obsessed about their lives. Like, we got to have parameters in place to keep us healthy.
Yeah.
And social media and media can be a good thing if we have those parameters and boundaries in place for ourselves, for our families, and for our kids.
Yeah. 100% agree with you.
To you? Yep. Let us know if you have any advice about how your family handles all media, and be sure to catch our next episode next week.
Thank you for joining us this week on In Between Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some inspiration for your own journey. Don't forget, we release new episodes every Monday at 4 p.m., so be sure to tune in. Stay connected with us on social media and let us know your thoughts and stories. Until next time, keep navigating the in-betweens with grace and faith.